Welcome to the Rural Revival Podcast. I'm your host, Dana Larson. Today we're with Shanda Mattix of Barnwood Bling and M Arrow Ranch in Colby, Kansas. Shanda and her husband Caleb are building and living in a legacy of agriculture. From her role as the Equine program director and equestrian team head coach at Colby Community College, to turning a creative outlet into a Western home decor and fashion business, to selling their meat locally, we are covering it all. And you will find a common theme throughout this conversation. The heart behind everything Shanda and Caleb are involved in is to intentionally serve a need in their community, and that's pretty special. I actually had the opportunity to come to Colby in person about a month ago and put on a 2-day strategic planning workshop for the Colby Convention and Visitors Bureau, local business owners, and local leaders, and it was fantastic. We created a powerful strategic marketing plan with common goals as a community and intentional tactics to help them move forward in this. Our time together made such an impact that I want to open up this opportunity for other communities this year. So if this is resonating with you and if you're interested in doing something similar in your small town, send me an email at info@ruralrevival.co or through our contact form on the Rural Revival website. I would love to talk with you more about making this happen in your community and the difference that it can make for you. And now with that, here we go with Shanda Mattix. Well, we're here today with Shanda Mattix of Barnwood Bling and M Arrow Ranch in Colby, Kansas. Shanda, thanks for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Dana. I'm so excited.
Me too. Well, tell us about you. Were you born and raised here in Colby?
Yes. So Colby is my hometown, and made the commitment after my husband and I got married to return to Colby to raise our family and build a life here. And really the big impetus was to be able to partner in my family's cattle operation.
Wow. How did you and Caleb meet?
Oh, do you want the PG version or the real version?
I mean, we're all about being real here. So,
So we met at K-State, Kansas State.
Yep.
Caleb and I both went to K-State for ag degrees. I was a member of Sigma Alpha, the agriculture sorority at K-State. And Caleb was a AGR, Alpha Gamma Rho fraternity.
Yep.
And the two organizations, I was a transfer student. I actually attended Colby Community College first and then transferred to K-State. Caleb completed his whole education at K-State. So some of the girls that I became friends with in Sigma Alpha were friends with some of the AGR boys, and they did a lot of activities together between the sorority and fraternity. So we met that way, but the fun part of the story is, and all that kind of ties back to my family operation too. I'd come home the fall of my first year to help process calves. And that same weekend, one of my roommates and girlfriends was going home to Republic County to process her family's calves. And we decided we were going to bring all the nuts back and have a nut fry. So we hosted a really large nut fry in our apartment complex at K-State. Turned it to be like a way bigger shindig than we planned. So there was a bunch of Sigma Alpha girls that came, and this was like within the first month of being at K-State. So it's kind of a risky call to host something like that with sorority girls I didn't really know. So a bunch of AGR fraternity boys were there, and a bunch of ag students. And Caleb and one of his buddies showed up late. His friend worked at a hog operation near Manhattan, and they'd both gone to work there that day. And they tracked pig poop in my apartment and came in with a big cooler of red jungle juice that dripped all over our gray carpet.
Oh, no.
So my first impression of Caleb was not that stellar.
But he made an impression.
Oh, he made an impression. But then I learned over the weeks what a cool guy he was.
Yeah.
Yep, he's a great partner.
That's awesome.
And kind of a fun note with that too. That first nut fry that we held really was just kind of on a whim and for fun. For our next 3 years at K-State, we hosted a nut fry every semester. And it became named the Barnyard Jewel Bash. And we made T-shirts, and every year had a theme. And it became like the celebration of the College of Ag like hundreds of students would come celebrate a nut fry with us.
Awesome. You started something.
Yeah, it was
more
so
than
fun.
one thing. No, that's great. So now you are 5th generation ranchers.
Correct.
And your kids are 6th generation ranchers. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of legacy of cattle production and just this heritage of agriculture in our part of the state, and ties from both sides of my family. My mom's family and my dad's are both from Northwest Kansas, and we're really thoughtful and intentional about making decisions that are going to be able to keep our children engaged in agriculture if that's something that they choose to do. But as a whole, on a broad spectrum, be able to be a positive light within agriculture and educate others and really help the industry kind of be the best that it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. So now, kind of looking at your current situation, you have Barnwood and Bling, and you also have M. Arrow Ranch Company. Amongst many other things, which we'll get into later, but we'll start here. So which came first?
Barnwood and Bling came first. It started in 2013, so before we had children. I was painting furniture and redoing furniture really just for fun. And I'd started that, clear back in high school, and throughout college would do some pieces for myself and for some friends. And as we moved back, continued to do it just as a creative release and a fun hobby. And kind of started getting a push in 2012 by some friends and some of my family to do a little bit more with it. So established it as an official business in 2013. And then we had Morgan, my daughter, that fall. And, over the years, the business has kind of just grown and evolved to look a lot of different ways. And truly what it is now, when I started, I had no intention of it being what it is today.
Wow. Yeah. So how have you seen that grow over the years? And how have you grown it?
Sure. So it really did start as a way to serve as a creative outlet for me. For years, horses were my outlet and my stress relief.
Yeah.
And when that became my full-time career, I needed something else to be that outlet. And Barnwood and Bling became that, and still is that today. So over the years, I've changed the projects that I do, or added more projects, I maybe should say, in terms of like the furniture and the crafting and the things that occurs within it. But over the last, 2 or 3, maybe 4 years, have started adding boutique line to Barnwood and Bling. So have clothing and accessories. And 3 years ago, we built a barn on our property and kind of set it as a long-term goal that I'd have a brick and mortar space for Barnwood and Bling, and have just did the grand opening in early December this last winter, and have it open for business here, that people get to come to our place and shop here and see our animals. And, I kind of joke with people as they come, they get fully immersed in our family. And at first I was a little hesitant about that, but I think that's also what makes it kind of unique and special, that shoppers are going to come out and they might hear my child practicing her violin, or they might see my kids out walking their show pigs, or, whatever that looks like and what's happening in our world. They become a part of it.
Yeah. It's a real life experience. Yeah. So how often are you open?
Right now, my plan is to just be open one weekend a month, and then 2 or 3 additional evenings, because I do have a full-time job outside of this. And, I think it'll grow and evolve over time. And I have a lot of ideas and things in the future that we want to make happen. But right now, that's what's working for our family. And we'll see where it goes from there. I have a lot of vision of what it's going to look like down the road.
Yeah. Sky's the limit. That's cool. So alongside that, you have M Arrow Ranch Company, and you mentioned that
Yes.
barn, and
Yes.
and that is housed there too. So tell us about this other side hustle.
Sure. So, as we've discussed, my family with our kids are the sixth generation ranchers, cattle producers in this part of the state. And, my family for generations have had a commercial cow-calf operation. And I mentioned that Caleb and I made the decision to come back to partner with my mom on that operation. And there's a lot of story to what led us here. So, I said that my folks both were raised in the cattle industry. My dad grew up on a ranch in Cheyenne County, Kansas, and crossed into the Nebraska, across the Nebraska state line as well. My mom grew up in Sheridan County, Kansas, which is just a neighboring county, row crop farm, cattle production, cow-calf, and her dad helped start a fairly large and well-known feed yard in that area too. So I come from both sides, generations producing cattle. So growing up, this was a part of what we did. I'm the youngest of four children, and all of us played a role in that. As the youngest, I got a lot of cool opportunities and perspectives, and got to tag along with my dad a lot, checking cows and fixing fence. And saying that, I never thought that I would end up here and helping manage the herd and making that all happen.
Yeah.
When I was a freshman in college, I mentioned that I stayed here and went to community college. And to be honest, that wasn't my plan. I was recruited to go horse judge at a school in Oklahoma. K-State was always on my radar and kind of my dream school, but had an opportunity to come here and have my 2 years of schooling paid for. And that was that was kind of a big push of my parents to be able to receive a quality and free education for 2 years before I went on for my bachelor's degree. And I'm a believer. And in hindsight, I think God had a hand in what this all needed to look like. So while I was a freshman here at CCC, and that has been, almost 20 years ago now, my dad was diagnosed with cancer, with advanced esophageal cancer. And, as the child that was here, I got to play really a vital role in what our operation looked like during that time. My dad received treatments in Houston at MD Anderson. And so my parents would be back and forth to Houston. Sometimes it would be like 2 weeks at a time. So I was kind of the mainstay to be able to keep things going and moving forward. And there was a ton of people in the community that helped, and our neighbors, pitched in and helped make everything happen. So, I think that God absolutely played a hand in me being here. Mm-hmm. 'Cause for those 2 years, I got to, be with my dad in a time that if I was away at school, it wouldn't have looked the same, and got to play a unique role in what our operation looked like during that time. After my 2 years here, I transferred to Kansas State, and I'd only been at school for, it was less than 2 weeks when my dad passed away. So, he encouraged me to go on to Manhattan, and to continue with the plans and the dreams that had been established. And I'm so thankful that he did. And
he
that
had his blessing.
Yes, for sure. But during that time, I was at K-State for 3 years to complete a couple of different degrees. My mom managed the herd.
Wow.
So she, during that time, it looked a lot of different ways. A couple of my brothers jumped in and have their own operations, but helped. There was another young man that stepped in and helped, and for a portion of time even leased the herd to alleviate a little bit from her. But ultimately, she was the one who was keeping it all going. And so as we are looking after I'd graduated K-State, Caleb and I were looking at what our opportunities were, and we're exploring jobs and, trying to establish what our life was going to look like. There was a pull to come home and to kind of be able to bring the herd back together and help manage that. And Caleb and I both took advantage of some cool opportunities, but then chose, once we were married, to come back to Colby. So we partnered with my mom and continued to raise our Draper family commercial cattle herd. And really then, over the years, that's what it looked like for us. We were managing a cow herd. We would breed them, sell the babies in the fall, and that was just our normal cycle. Amaro Ranch Co. developed, honestly, as a product of COVID.
Wow.
I tell people that for us, that was a really positive thing and kind of a game changer in how we were restructuring our business. When things began to shut down across the country, we were seeing a huge shortage of fresh meats in the grocery stores. And, people in our community knew that we raised cattle and our friends and neighbors were coming to us asking if they could purchase meat from us. And we had never, gone through the steps or even had that as a goal to be able to process meat for retail. Would always save some back for ourselves, and butcher our own animals. So started exploring what that all looked like. And leading into that, I think too, this is God playing a hand in what our business and our relationships needed to look like. Caleb and I became very involved in Kansas Farm Bureau and served on our state's Young Farmers and Ranchers Committee, and established really cool relationships and networks, and had an opportunity to see and do a lot of things. But there was one wife in our conference that there was a speaker who was talking about really being able to maximize your business on the land that you have, not necessarily being able to purchase more land and expand your business in that way, but to focus on things you can do with what you have to see growth and expansion. And this, it planted a seed in our mind of what that could look like for us. And that's before we'd built the barn and had started plans for the boutique. So all of that kind of came out of these conversations we were having of how can we do more with what we have right now.
Yeah.
So then, when we started getting these questions about having our beef available to consumers, we started looking into that and contacted the Kansas Department of Ag to see what kind of licenses we need to have and what that process all needed to look like. So, this was spring of 2020, and it takes you 18 months to develop a beef animal to butcher.
Yeah.
So it's been a process to get to the point that we are now, but have been offering our beef to consumers for several months now. And, we have felt the love and support of our community. We regularly have shoppers at the boutique, shoppers coming for beef. For both, we've explored websites, and right now that isn't where we need to be because we're serving the needs of our community.
Yeah.
And locally, people are coming to us to purchase their meat, and then the ladies to do their shopping. And the model seems to be working to serve our community.
Yeah.
And I think it's different for people too, because they know us personally and they know the care that we put into raising our animals, and that the steak that they're going to eat is raised with
right in
compassion.
The backyard.
Right. Yeah, really. They can drive down the dirt road and see our herd and see Caleb out feeding the cows, that they know how that animal was cared for.
Yeah. No, that's great. I love that it's been so well received. And
it really has. We're thankful for that.
Word of mouth is huge in a small town. So
That's true.
Yes. So you alluded to this a little bit, but you also serve as the Equine Program Director and Equestrian Team Head Coach at Colby Community College. And you've also served as an advisor, right, for the Colby Community College Collegiate Farm Bureau chapter.
That's correct. All of that is part of my role.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So, that was part of the decision in making the move back to Colby too. When I graduated K-State, I was feeling the pull to come back home, but also really felt this pull to go do something different. And I'd had the opportunity as a youth to see parts of the world, but was really feeling like a strong urge that I needed to go do something more and see other parts. And, I think it was something, there was something within me that I just needed a chance to explore, and even a little opportunity to find myself a little bit more. So I took advantage of an opportunity through Kansas State to spend a few months in Botswana, Africa.
Wow.
And taught at a really low-income private school in the capital city of Gaborone. I was teaching in an area referred to as Old Naledi. It was kind of a shanty town, and was teaching fifth grade, mostly boys in the class, science, math, and English. And then our days that I wasn't teaching was volunteering at a wildlife and nature preserve called Mokolodi, which was just outside the capital city. So spent my summer doing that, and it was a life-changing experience. Certainly have a piece of my heart in Africa, but that's also played a unique role in my teaching experience at a community college that brings a lot of international students, kind of how that all ties together. But as I got home from Africa, I decided I was going to spend a couple months at home and then kind of regroup again and apply for jobs and kind of help my mom find her footing. And, all along, she probably really did have her footing, that it was me that needed to know that she was okay.
Yeah.
So came home, and during that time, the woman who was serving as the Equine program director reached out to me, and she's like, my plate is full. You rode here, you rode for K-State. Can you come in and help coach the team? And so I agreed with a little bit of limitation. I'm looking for a job. I'm not planning to stay in Colby. But while I'm here, I'll come help you. And that opportunity, I think too, God had a hand in putting all of that in front of me. And I've now been at Colby Community College for 14 years. So what started as me helping coach the team, within a couple years transitioned into me taking the leadership role as the director of the Equine program and becoming head coach of the team. And, then the duties at the college and my roles that I play have just continued to grow and evolve from there. Farm Bureau has played a big part in our lives and our careers. So served too as the advisor for the collegiate chapter. And just this last year got to take on the role of division chair for our agriculture division. And there's so many cool things happening at Colby Community College and within the ag department and really Colby as a whole. Lots of really cool growth and opportunities for our students. And it's an exciting time to be a part of CCC and our community.
Yeah, that's great. So that's your full-time gig.
That's my full-time job, yeah.
And then Caleb also has Caleb Mattix Portable Welding.
Yes.
Which tell us about that. And he mentioned he's even getting into concrete. So
yeah. So my husband has a portable welding business. He does a lot of kind of on-call work for people as they have emergencies at their farms with equipment. Does a lot of millwright work for grain elevators and that type of the grain business as well. And then, yes, concrete is a portion of his business as well. So does it, for industry, commercially, people's homes, kind of, again, like found a place that there was a need and he had skill sets that could meet the need of people in our community. And stays really busy.
Yeah. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, you and Caleb and your kids were named the Farm Family of the Year by Farm Bureau. That's a huge achievement, and congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
really awesome. What did that mean to you?
You know, when we were first notified, our first thoughts were that we weren't deserving. You know, as we've seen people receive the award over the years, they're people who oftentimes are like my folks' generation, and they have spent years building a business and giving to their community, that we felt like we were too young to be able to receive an award like that. But we're really humbled and excited about the opportunity and the recognition that shared with us. It was really cool.
Yeah. And you get to represent agriculture
Right.
through that. So you guys started Prairie Barn Market
Oh, yes.
as another way to really give back to your community. Tell us a little more about that.
Sure. So we're preparing for our 4th annual Prairie Barn Market on June 4th, 2022. And you're right. You know, there's been conversations lately, and even conversations that Caleb and I have, that so much of what we do, we're doing to serve a need that is in our community. Because ultimately, you know, we want this place to be a place that all generations really feel welcomed and involved, and there's things for them to do and participate in, and, you know, a place that our kids are, and our friends' kids and our family, you know, that they're able to thrive because of the things that are occurring in our community. So Prairie Barn Market had kind of been on a dream list for me, and really it tied back to my Barnwood and Bling business, that I'd had an opportunity to be a vendor at some different handmade market type places, and had this dream of establishing something like that in Colby and helping serve Northwest Kansas and bring an event like that here. So at one point, you know, we decided that we dreamed enough about it and it just needed to happen.
Yeah.
So looked through some different ways of how we could make that happen, and ultimately partnered with our local museum and historical society to host the event. Our museum is home to the largest barn in Kansas. So it's this really big, beautiful barn that was imported from a local farm called Foster Farms. And so really that's kind of the structure that's the trademark of Prairie Barn Market, and really for our museum. So we partnered with them to put on this event and invite vintage and handmade makers from, really now it's stretching kind of a 4-state area. We have, of course, vendors from Kansas, Nebraska, Colorado, pulling some up from Oklahoma, to put on a day of outdoor shopping. And, you know, we're drawing shoppers from a large area too, that they can come to one location and be able to take in some really great, unique shopping. We have food vendors, yard games. Last year, for the first time, some of my team members brought in some of our school horses, and we did pony rides and set up a petting zoo. The high school art club does face painting. Caleb's contribution to all of it is we host I say that, he contributes a lot. Like, the event would not happen without Caleb's support. But kind of the draw for the men, he's organized a rusty truck and tractor show. Nice. And so has, local people bring in cool tractors and fun trucks that they have. So our goal is, that people can come and spend a day at our event. And really, I have these pictures in my mind of, these families with their young kids, and even the grandmas and the grandpas, like, they're all sitting around at these picnic tables eating this delicious food and this really fun environment, and they come and spend the whole day. And it's just established another way that we can find community and establish those relationships.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love it. you guys, I mean, to say that you're involved in the community would be a big understatement, but beyond some of these things that we've talked about, you're also involved in a lot of other ways. Tell us about some of those things that you're involved in and why that's important to you.
Sure. Yeah, we're active in our church, the First Presbyterian Church here in Colby. It's a small congregation, and so all of us are part of everything that happens, and all the ministry that we've chosen to participate in. I was a lifetime 4-H'er here in Thomas County, so we've made a commitment to be involved in that organization. My daughter just experienced her first year of 4-H, so I got to change roles a little bit and become a 4-H mom. And our son, too, as he's old enough, will join 4-H. And for years have helped as the 4-H horse project leader and, helped at the fair. And so much of this, too, I think I was taught all this as a young person because this is the type of stuff my parents did. Serving our community and serving others was expectation. Almost sounds like a harsh word, but it was part of what we did as a family.
Yeah.
That I don't even really know any different of what that looks like. Like we want our town and community to be strong. And, Caleb and I both have a desire to serve others. And these are ways that we can do that. Caleb just recently took on a role too on our city planning and zoning committee. So is getting involved in a different aspect there to serve our town.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for other people listening who have moved back to their community and want to get involved? Where do you start?
It can probably be overwhelming initially, but there's so many avenues and organizations that already exist that are wonderful organizations to be a part of and to be able to serve your time and contribute. But I would also say if there's an area that you see a need and if you feel like that's a need that you can serve, to step in and do that. And sometimes that can be intimidating.
Yeah.
A lot of this we thought about for some time before we took action on it. But it's been totally worth it.
Yeah.
So I would just encourage folks to go for it. If they feel the pull or feel like that's an area they can minister to other people to step in and do that.
Yeah. I think a lot of us can identify with this, but a lot of times you hear people say, and especially in a small town, well, somebody should. And you are that somebody, because if you can find that place where what you have to offer fits, it's needed.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you love most about your small town?
Oh, gosh. Colby is such a cool town. And I don't know that I could just pinpoint one thing. There's unique industry and cuisine and arts. Like there's really so much for a rural community in Northwest Kansas. So I say I can't pick one thing, but I think all of those come back to the people.
Yeah.
They're people that, they're invested in those different areas to make it a strong community, and there's support for small business and, Caleb and I talk about this frequently. If there's ever anyone in our community, or, we see it happen all over this part of the state. If there's ever anyone who's having a difficult time, a health crisis or, a fire or something really tragic that occurs, our community steps in and helps those people.
Yeah.
And I just think that's such a unique way that small towns really love and support one another.
Yeah. And you got to experience that firsthand with your dad. And yeah, there's nothing quite like that.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. What excites you most about the future of rural America?
Oh, gosh. I hear and I read about the brain drain and folks leaving rural America. And I don't know what has caused this transition, but I think that here we're actually seeing the opposite occur.
That's so great.
And I think of it, so much of these things I've explained about how our community loves and supports one another, that's a draw to young families to, come back or come to our community maybe, even if they weren't local, because that it exists on such a big level. So, population in Northwest Kansas is decreasing, but I also see like really fabulous people choosing to make this their home and engaging in the community, that it isn't occurring in such a negative light that maybe is sometimes presented.
Yeah. That's so good. Well, what's next for you? Any big projects or plans?
Oh gosh, we have a lot of dreams of what's to come. And some of it is improvements to our property and what that can look like to better serve our customers. Right now our cattle are a couple miles down the road. So being able to bring some of the steers here that folks can see the whole process and we can have some education about agriculture is part of this. My mom and I have kind of taken on helping with the visual arts project for 4-H. And so during the summer have plans to have some kid craft classes out at the barn, and there's a lot still to come.
Yeah.
I keep a list of all these dreams, and Caleb and I sit down a couple times a year and kind of reevaluate where we're at and what our goals look like and what's coming next. And, so many times too, things that come our way aren't things that we've planned, but are a good fit. And, it just tends to work out.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
Uh-huh.
What would you say to somebody who's like you, who has a lot of dreams for things they want to do to add something to their community, or just this thing that they've carried with them for a while and they want to start to bring it to life? What advice would you have for them?
Oh, to absolutely do it. I can understand having reservations, and honestly, the biggest reservation for us is time.
Yeah.
That as we choose to take on one more thing or to participate in one more thing, it's to the point that we're having to be selective because our time is valuable and our time is used in so many ways already. Mm-hmm. So if it's something that you're really feeling a need or desire to do, to just go for it.
Yeah.
And I sometimes have people question, they're like, how do you and Caleb keep this all going? And how do you balance like being a working mother that also owns a business? And, I'm responsible for 50 head of horses at the college and we have a cattle operation. Like, how does this all happen? And I laugh because I think balance is a terrible word.
Yeah. I agree.
It doesn't exist.
Right.
It truly doesn't exist. Like, there are days that we fall short in, what we'd planned to do for that day, or balance just doesn't exist. So I try to have the mindset of what we're doing as a family can have a lot of blend. Mm-hmm. So that means that our children are involved in our operation and they're out there at the barn nights that it's open. And when we're hosting a college horse show, or I'm, spending weekends checking broodmares at the barn, my kids are a part of it. They've blended into what this looks like. So even though, time can maybe be a hindrance for somebody who wants to bring something to light or start a project or a business, find a way that it's going to work well for your family and make it happen.
Yeah. It's not balance. It's just your life.
Mm-hmm.
And you make it all work.
It does work. Having our business too in the location that it is, that it's literally like out our back door.
Yeah.
Is significant for our family. We have a pretty vital downtown business, and a couple of the board members for our downtown district had asked us to start our business downtown. And I see so much value in that, and there's still a piece of me that wishes it could work that way, but it isn't the right fit for our family.
Yeah.
Because being in another location would take more time away from what exists here.
Yeah.
When it's, 25 yards out the back door, my kids can run back and forth to the house, and it just looks so different having it here. So we found a way, to meet the need, but make it work for our family.
Yeah, that's so important.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do we follow along with everything you have going on?
Sure. You can find me at Barnwood Bling on both Instagram and Facebook. Caleb is most active on Instagram at CM Portable Welding. And with our beef business, with the Immersed Ranch Co., both of us just kind of incorporate that into our other businesses. I'm not sure I could manage one more social media.
Yeah, I don't know if you have time. That's great. Okay, well, we will link to that in the show notes. Shanda, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yes, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Well, Shanda is one of the most involved people I know, and I love how she and her family are immersed in ag, and they are maximizing their opportunities on their land. I got to witness this firsthand in the few days I got the chance to spend in Colby. Colby has a lot to offer, and if you're looking for a fun girls shopping trip down a historic small town Main Street, or if you're looking for a great place to stop when you're headed west to the mountains, you'll want to make Colby part of your plans. A huge thanks to Shanda for being on the podcast and for sharing your town with me, and thanks to you for tuning in. Have a great day, everybody.